Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. I'm joined with Rich Kozak, who's the founder of RichBrands and Impact Driven Publishing. Rich, thanks for joining me today.
Great to be here, Dan. This is going to be a special time.
It is. It is. We've actually kind of did our pre-podcast meeting, which went as long as what the podcast is going to do. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. But before we get started, Rich, just introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know who is Rich today.
Well, by what I do, I'm Rich Kozak, the founder of RichBrands. I've been defining and languaging brands and launching them for 46 years. So I know a lot about that. And these days I help people publish books as well to give their brand a stake in the ground. But what that really means these days is I listen to people's hearts. I only work with individuals, so I get to spend my day listening to people's hearts and seeing what they can become, listening to their vision of how they want to touch others' lives or how they want to impact the world or how they want to use their business or their calling, however they see it, and creating and languaging clearly brands they must become to make those impacts. And they literally step into their own shoes very authentically, and it helps them not only be more abundant quickly and impact people more quickly, but also creates a platform that they can step into why they're really here. So I believe it's God's work. You can call it branding. I often speak about when does branding become God's work, and these days that's what I get to do. So I think it says a lot about who I am. It doesn't say much about where I've been, but I did run a high-tech ad agency for 20 years, and I have a lot of certifications and a lot of trainings. But these days, I get to use my heart a lot and my gift, which is a blessing to see what others can become and to help them language and create a consistent way to say it and do it so that everything they say and do is congruent with the impacts that they want to make. Praise God.
Love that. I love that. So, you mentioned 46 years of experience in, branding
and marriage. I've been married for 46 years and 51 Valentine's Days. That's pretty good. That's actually
very good. Very good. But quite a difference from, how you started out in the industry, branding, marketing, it can be, very cutthroat. And that's not the approach that you're taking today.
Right.
Tell me, when was it in your life that shift took place where you realized, what, I don't want to be here. I want to do something that's more impactful.
Well, thanks for asking. So there were two moments. The first was I found myself getting very out of shape and shorting myself on sleep. When I was 50 years old, I was actually doing all-nighters working on big client projects. And I realized I'd become addicted to this work that I was really, really good at, and I really loved doing, and I was really good at it, but I'd become addicted, and I changed my prayers. Lord, I'm going to resign this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. And I resigned at 50. Made peace with the owner because he and I were dear friends, and I was his executive VP for 17 and a half years. And he wished me all the best and still was my friend and still is. And I started doing other things, but I never, I had to have people tell me I never stopped branding, but I thought I did, but they said, no, everybody uses your stuff. The second moment when I was, after it was a few years later, people had asked me to help them with their individual brands, and I chose to help them. And it came to me that when we help people look into their hearts at the impacts they really see clearly, it's not that they want to make, they really see what the impact their work, their gift, their calling can make on specific types of people, and they really want to help those people or those industries or those business, whatever it is. They're impact driven. Those desires for impact got in their heart somehow. We only use what's in their heart, not what's in their head. We can all make lists. We don't do that. The heart tells them, this person, oh my, it's that single mom with a special needs child. It's this couple. It's, this person who just suffered a loss. It's this person who is determined to go to the highest level they possibly can. Whomever they clearly see they know their work can impact, pulling that out and talking about the impacts they clearly see, you literally can define the brand you must become to make those impacts. So what I realized was that getting that out of their heart, I mean, how to get there? If God put it there, this is God's work. And if our businesses are not why we're here, we can make our businesses more abundant with branding, of course. But what it does is it gives you a bigger platform to step into your purpose. That's why I'm back. That's why I do what I do. And it was that realization that this is God's work, and it wasn't feeling like work. And it doesn't. I've done it now for 7 years since I made that decision, and it doesn't feel like work. And I will keep doing this as long as I'm able. This is what I'm supposed to do. Is that a gift to a human being, feeling that they're doing exactly what they were prepared to do, that the journey of all this stuff they've been through has made them ready and they get to do this? Wow. So those are the two moments. And thanks for asking. Many people wouldn't ask that. I really appreciate that, Dan.
Yeah. So what was it first like then? Again, I mean, let's face it, branding and marketing can be kind of sleazy at times. So to shift gears and to really look at people's purpose and their authenticity. I mean, obviously you had gone through this change on your own, but when you're having that conversation and you kind of feel that connection, I mean, what is that like for you? And how does that really fuel your purpose to continue going? Because that's got to be incredibly fulfilling.
It really is. And first, I'm going to congratulate you. Maybe everyone else up to now has been really nice. No one's ever said it like you have. This can be really sleazy at times. Nice. So it does give me the platform to talk, and I I do a half day every month. I do a half day to reframe how an individual sees what it means to define in language your personal brand, your umbrella brand that stands for everything you are and everything you do, and presents it in such a unique way that nobody can take it away from you, and there's no competition. That's a pretty compelling idea for most people. And some people go like, oh, that sounds like tricky talk. Well, it's actually not, because we're all unique. It's just, if there is a process that when it's done, you have a unique brand that no one can take, and it's like, show me that. So that's what I do. I've been teaching it for decades, and I taught big companies, and now I teach individuals, and I coach, and I speak, and I write. I have a book coming out. So you said, what did it feel like? The ability to speak, and let's call it straight talk. The opening lines from my half-day workshop is, in the world, those who use the word branding have two choices. They can use the complex, tricky talk, jargony talk, essence, you need a micro niche, la 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 la, all the stuff that is entrancing to get you to buy stuff. They might not know branding. If you lit a match and they had to hold it until they described what makes a brand come alive, they would burn their fingers. A lot of them, there'll be a lot of burned fingers. Okay, not kidding around. Or you can just talk straight with no jargon and describe the process. And I spend all my day in the process. When you're impact driven and you more driven by, you ran a nonprofit for young kids in the sports area, and it turned into your first book, which I love. You weren't driven to make money. You were driven by the impact you knew you could have on kids' lives. And then you went on your journey across the country, and you reconnected with some of those children who weren't children anymore, and watched and saw the fruits of your labor, and heard from them the impacts that they reflect back. I mean, okay, so it felt really natural, authentic, relieving, for me to be able to say, look, here's what goes on mostly when people use the word branding. It's designed to either sell you marketing services because they don't really know what branding is. They just know they use the word, and then it gets you to go, oh, I need that. Yeah, right. Or they're selling branding and they're entrancing you to think that you need a guru that knows something you don't know. They're not teaching you how to do it so that you're empowered to be your own champion. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. For me to be able to say in straight talk, it's just a process. When you do the steps, certain things occur, and certain things make a brand come alive or fall flat. And most brands fall flat. Fall flat means, and this is what I'm saying to people, and they're going, wow, nobody ever talked like this before. Yeah, most brands fall flat. Picture you at a networking group, and somebody says, what do you do? And you tell them, they go, oh, that's nice. That's fall flat. All right. Here's the opposite. They ask what you do, and you tell them, and they go, oh, wow, I love that. But I got to go, but can I have your card? Right. There was a transfer of energy because of the language. Imagine if you have visions of impacting people's lives and someone helped you, and then you helped yourself, and then other people who were in it helped you too. And you ended up with a language that was your own language that transfers energy and makes your brand come alive instead of fall flat. And you learned how to say, Dan, this is what I see for you. We've talked for an hour. This is what I see for you. You say that, or your brand says that, you get people's attention, and you paint a picture of what you see for them. Most brands don't do that, and they fall flat. But when they do that really well, they attract like a magnet. So imagine if you could just wave a magic wand and that language were there, the brand definition was there, and everything the brand said and does aligns with those impacts that you want to make. I don't know about you, but so how did it feel? First, it felt natural and authentic for me to say, look, let's not use tricky talk. Nobody's going to slap a brand on you and say like, oh yeah, Dan, you're the Lone Ranger. Yeah, next. And now you have to become it. You got to go buy the uniform. You have to like talk like the. When you want to make an impact on others' lives, your brand comes from inside of you. Well, how do you do that? That's why I'm giving this away. I'm writing a book called Impact Driven Branding: 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts People's Lives and the World. And when people learn that and they do that, now today you see above me, if you're on video, but if not, there's a sign that says Impact Driven Publishing. We actually help people craft, organize, align and write books that move their brand forward, stake in the ground for their expertise, stake in the ground for a transition expertise, stake in the ground for their purpose. And we get to all get there faster. And I'm going to use 2 words that we actually use as a new marketing metric. Praise God. Because if we're moving to why we're here and what the impacts that are put in our hearts and God put them, it's like, we're doing God's work. And we're going to give him credit. So it's like, wow. So it also made me feel congruent with God's will, which when I decided to restart my faith as a new Christian, I started reading the Bible and asked for his will in my business, in my life, in my marriage, in my relationships. And it's changed. Change is probably not the right. It's clarified and focused everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, when you talk about us, when we pray, to really pray for God's will as opposed to our will, because we have our own little, vision and plan, so to speak, as to how we think we're going to get there. God's will many times is a lot different than what ours is. One thing that I still often struggle with is not so much God's will, but God's timing.
You struggle with it, do you?
Because I want stuff to happen right now, where it's a process. So, you know, when you kind of rearranged your thought process and, really being willing to surrender and, say, okay, your will, not mine. Um, what was that process like for you? I mean, are you one of the rare people out there who embraced it right away, or
Well,
was this a work?
I will paint a picture of the moment. One of the things I started doing, I've never never told this story on a podcast or anywhere. One of the things I started when I left the agency, I told myself I don't want to have to go back and have a job, so I'm going to get involved with residual income businesses. You do something today and you keep making money. So multi-level marketing is one of those areas of business where you can do that. So I was at my 14th international training of this particular multi-level marketing company, and I loved it, what they do. It was a gift to humanity, I thought, and I still do. Good people who ran it, people who read their Bible every morning, and it wasn't a Bible kind of company, but the owners were men of faith, and there was, but and I was at my 14th training. I was up in the rafters of a stadium in North Carolina, and and it was Sunday morning, and there was a church service sponsored by the members, not by the company. So you don't do that. And the members have to sponsor. They have a band, and so it's like 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. And I'm at the end of the church service, and we're talking about a 25,000 seat arena, and maybe a quarter of the people have never been to one of these things before, and many of them are younger than 30. That wouldn't have been me at the time, but at the end of the church service, they do what I would call a soft altar call. It's kind of like, hey, everybody has stuff going on. If you have something going on and you want a little bit of help with it, why don't you come up to the side of the stage? We'll give you some literature to read. We'll pray with you. Tell us, we'll put you on the prayer list. Tell us what you've got going on. Because a lot of people join a multi-level marketing company because what they're doing is not working, or it's working against them and they want something else. So that's like not unexpected. And I'm up there thinking, wow, I love this company. It's an outreach mission, but they can't wear it on their sleeve, but look at what they do. This is remarkable. Even if these people were raised in the faith like I was. My mom ran the Sunday school, dad was in the choir, you're right. And we went to church so church is a big thing with us, a big culture, right? Even if they were raised in the faith, and their faith is over here and their business is over here. And I realized that was me. It's like my faith and my business weren't combined. It's like they kind of stayed in their own corners. And I got up out of my seat and I started walking to the stage. And it was a long walk because I was way up in the back and the top. And I had a lot of time to think on the way down. What am I going to do differently? Why am I doing this? I believe what I do for a living and what I do in my business ought to be one in one, arm in arm, hand in hand with my faith. So how do we get there? And on the way down, I had a wonderful multi-level marketing thought. All multi-level marketing companies say, we told you how to do it, but you had to do it your own way. So go back to, and they have their own phrase, phase one. In other words, do it like we told you to do, right? So I made the multi-level marketing decision about my faith, saying, I'm going to go back to phase one as a Christian, and I'm going to become a new Christian. Starts fresh. I'm going to restart my faith as a new Christian. I'm going to read the word every morning and ask God for his will. I made that decision on the way down. They gave me a little bag of literature. We were in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it was Billy Graham, because, the Billy Graham people are there. And I took it back to my hotel that night instead of going to the big team meeting, and read it. And it said, if you're been away from Christianity, you're coming back, go to page 4, and I just started doing what it said. Read this, read that, read Romans, read the Acts, now go read the Psalms, now come back and read a Proverbs, or go read the Proverbs, now come back in and read one of the other Gospels. I just started doing it. And every morning I read the word, not to check it off a list, but to listen for his will. And when that occurs, everything shifts. And to answer your question specifically, I guess it happened pretty darn quickly, but I made that decision for that reason. My intention was to make sure that the way I spend my time, because we're talking, I was doing all-nighters, right? So it's like, wait a minute, how about the family? Didn't you say you were married for? Yeah. Like, where was she? He was at home sleeping, and so were my kids, and they're going like, I wonder where, right? I mean, I don't know what they were saying, but I wasn't there. Thank God my wife was there when I got home, because some wives wouldn't be. They'd be going like, I'm out of here, this guy. But I have very, very possible candidate for being addicted to my job. I don't want to do that anymore. I would rather be focused on his will. And so whatever I choose to do, whether it's multi-level marketing or now helping people to define in language the brand they will become, the brand they must become to make their impacts and get into abundance and be in purpose, praise God, it's congruent with his will. And I don't have that problem anymore. I don't have that problem anymore. I guess we all have problems, but I don't have that one anymore.
Right.
Okay. One of my biggest problems is I'm on Zoom all day long, which means I need to get out of this chair, but I'm not going to get up right now because we're having a great session. But seriously, I mean, things are going really well, and I'm here working with people all over the world. It's a blessing. And I even say to people, I mean, people like me, there's not too many people like me that have the years of experience I do. And I literally say, look, if you want to talk about you, go on calendly.com/RichBrands and get on my calendar, and I will jump on a Zoom call with you. Who does that? I'm like, I still do that. Why? Because it's not up to me. My prayer is put in front of me those people whose lives and businesses you want me to touch. My job is to show up,
right,
not to be in judgment or to be selective. So it's a different, yeah. And thank God I don't have to do this. I get to do it. And it's, yeah. Does that help?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's funny when I was younger, you'd always hear people say, oh, hey, don't take that personally. It's only business. And that was something that never resonated with me. I mean, I ran that nonprofit for 30 years, but for the first 20 years of that organization, it was all volunteer. So I still worked what I call a regular job. I was in sales in the, building materials industry. And there's something I never understood. And thankfully I had a lot of, a lot of my clients were first and second generation Italians. And, they made our business very personal. And, that was one of the things that resonated with me is that, even now,
they're handshake people and very loyal.
Absolutely. And I've been out of that business now for, going on 20 years, but yet, we're back here in Pennsylvania right now. And if I bump into him at the store or something, my wife knows we just shot 30 minutes because we're going to be standing there talking and reminiscing about something that we that we did. So
everybody comes from somewhere, and Italians, it doesn't matter, but Italians are a great example. They and their family remember who helped them when they got here.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people that would spit on them, okay, like metaphorically or actually, right? But they remember who helped them, the bank that gave them the loan. They'll be with that bank forever. And they pass it on. They pass it on to their children and say, like, that's our bank. It's like, because that's who helped them when they were new, and everybody's from somewhere. My relatives came from the Czech Republic in 1907, my grandparents on my father's side.
Yeah.
Everybody's from somewhere.
That was always something that just never resonated with me when people would say that. It's like, oh, it's business, don't take it personal. And it's one of the reasons why you mentioned earlier about networking events and stuff. Like I absolutely, because of our nonprofit organization, I had to attend a lot of community networking events and stuff like that. And I absolutely hated them because I thought they were so superficial, because I was always looking for, real personal connection. I mean, the work that we did was personal connection. So, when you get into one of those conversations, it just doesn't resonate with you. It was always tough for me to digest. So that's what I love about what you're doing, is that, you're all in. It's, business is personal for
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and I think that's the way it is. People buy from people, people interact with people. And whether you're talking about branding or selling building materials or anything like that, like there's got to be a personal connection. And I think that's something that we've, gotten away from, quite a bit as, our society kind of, you know, I don't know if move forward is the right term. I think sometimes we're moving
Watch
we're
out.
moving
Yeah.
backward,
I
Um,
think people have said that for years. It might be two steps forward and one step back. Sometimes it feels like one step forward and two steps back. But yeah, so you reminded me of I think a really good example of an industry you just don't expect presence and caring from, is the financial services industry. They're trained to sell you stuff. And it sounds like it's for you, but really they're being spiffed, or really, that's the annuity that they're told. We're trying to sell 1,000 of them this week, whatever. And it's not about what happens when you retire. They don't even care about that. They don't even bring up the fact that you're going to lose a third of it in taxes. They won't even bring it up. And you think you're going to get this big pie, and you get a pie with a big old piece out of it. It's like, what? But it's too late, right? That's right. And so I have a client who said, I want to serve people in a much higher way. And he tells me, oh, I said, what do you do, in your spare time? He goes, well, I'm a chaplain. I do prison ministry 6 nights a month. Whoa. He said it matter-of-factly, but how many people live their faith? So once I got over the fact that it wasn't ego, it was him literally living his, he didn't like talk down to people. He literally connected with them and let them know that they could be forgiven and forgive themselves and move on and bring that gift to others. We rewrote the story of his brand, and he ended up writing a book called From Broke to Six Figures, Steps to Success in Business and Life. That was about mistakes he had made, how to talk to people, always selling, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. Listen to what they want, take a personal interest in them for real, and you'll find everything shifts. He give these wonderful wisdom nuggets in From Broke to Six Figures, Steps to Success in Business and Life. His name is Frank Lehane, Lehane. He's on an Amazon author page. We're writing a second book right now, and it's about things to not interrupt. And you reminded me about it. It's called Living. Can't think of the title. Life. Sorry. Anyway, it's about living life, the power to live your life. Okay, I think is the title. But the subtitle is 7 Things to Not Interrupt, including compound interest, because he's a financial guy, right? So compound interest, if you've saved all this money, but then you spend it, you have to start again. And you know how compound interest goes. It takes a while, and then it goes up geometrically. Don't do anything with it. Let it ride, right? Anyway, but those other things that we interrupt, and our integrity is one of those. You come out of college, you get a new job in New York, and they say, look, this is the way we do it in this industry. Either do it that way or get out. And it's incongruent with the way you were raised, but you do it anyway. You just interrupted your integrity. I interrupted my relationships. I stayed at the office all night. What's that about? What's going on with your marriage? What's going on with your kids? It's like, there's an interruption. I choose. People interrupt their health. There's a lot of things we interrupt for really good reasons. Yeah. And that people interrupt their authenticity because they think they need to be something other than what they are. And so you go to a networking meeting and you're going like, this guy is such a poser. Or this guy is so fun. You're too kind to walk away, but if you ever go to those network meetings again, that's the time to go, oh, hey, you know what? I left my, no, so you can't say I left my cigarette burning across the room because you don't smoke. Okay. But you go like, I'm going to go to the restroom. Excuse me. That's it. Get out to the rest and then go start again with somebody else. Yeah. That's the kind way. But oh my gosh. Yeah. We interrupt things. And why? Look, how much time do we have? Not very much.
That's right.
And all of us have that same amount of time. Some of us, like my mom, got 100 years and 5 months before she passed away, and she was never ill. It's like, praise God. I might get that too, or I might be gone tomorrow. It's like, you don't know. So like, we only have so much time. why waste it in being inauthentic? Why not just be, even the things the I'm writing another book with one of our clients is just finishing a book right now. I've been working on it with her for like 4 months. It's called The Secret You Hide Holds You Back. And she has held back secrets about herself for years behind her back. And everybody there's research that says we all have an average of 13 secrets, things we don't want to tell about what we did or what we were, whatever, right? What happened to us. We hold it behind our back and we never heal because we hold it behind our back. But the moment you bring something from behind your back and put a spotlight on it, you start to heal and you start to help others heal. And she's writing the book and it's helping her heal. And she will touch millions of lives with that book.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so true. One of the things that's been a huge blessing for us on this RV journey that we're on is that we have become so much more intentional than what we were in the past, and truly understanding that, the only thing that's guaranteed is this moment that we're currently in right now. And, part of that is, this year has been a rough year for our family because we've lost several people that have been near and dear to us. And it goes to what you just said, is that you just don't know. You don't know if you have 101 years or if you have 63 years. You have no idea, so it's so important to really understand and be in the moment and be present with those who we have the opportunity to cross paths with, so that's been a huge blessing for us. It was kind of interesting that you brought that up and what you were just saying as well, is that, being intentional and being in the moment is, so important, because we just, again, as humans, we just take things for granted. We think that tomorrow's guaranteed, and it absolutely is not.
And this journey that you've been on, where you did your first book on random thoughts, and then it was people, and then places, and then through the eyes of your dog. I thought that was beautiful. People come into our lives for a moment or a season or a lifetime. There are no coincidences. Things happen because they get to happen, and we either pay attention or we're not. And if we're not present, sometimes we'll miss the moment. So if someone comes into your life that's a powerful resource that resonates with you right now, a resource of truth, a resource of enlightenment, a resource of process, a resource of resources. I have one client who says he resources people who are surrounded by the ashes of their life, and they feel they have no resources, and he helps them realize how they have resources and provide them, get them on a path and flying again. It's David Chemetsky, who's a powerful coach. His brand is called Your Time to Soar. Marvelous coach. Don't miss the moment. And so staying present is just such great advice. And what a lesson that you get to learn as on your journey. I hope you make that real. I would set that in a box in your book. Make sure people don't miss that. You might put a sticker on the cover. Don't miss the box on page 64. It's like, it's an important one.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Rich, is there anything that there's tons of stuff we didn't cover. We covered a ton of stuff, but is there anything that we didn't cover that you absolutely want to make the listeners aware of?
Do you want me to give people a way to plug in to how they can help themselves with this process that I talk about?
Absolutely.
Is that absolutely? So there's a very simple way. I send people by email a document called Your Impact-Driven Branding Blueprint. And it says, here are the 7 steps. And then there's a page on each of the steps where I speak to you it's like I'm talking to you. And it says, here's what you can do right now. You close your eyes and do this one. Number 1 and number 2, you can do with your eyes closed. And just email me, rich@richbrands.org. Don't get that part wrong. rich@richbrands.org. And say blueprint. you can tell me all about yourself if you want to, but just say blueprint and I will send you a copy of your impact driven branding blueprint. I also offer a series of free, there's very little straight talk about branding. I offer, if you go to thebrandyouwillbecome.com, there's a series of 8 little 1-2 minute videos answering frequently asked questions about branding and answering them in straight talk. And I suggest you just go there and get them, give your email, you get an email and download these little things and you can share it with other people. Please do. Thebrandyouwillbecome.com, and the U is YOU. It's all one word, thebrandyouwillbecome.com. Get those videos and you'll get to know me by listening to it. And yeah. So thank you for allowing me to do that. You said, is there anything that we missed? Branding is not, a brand is a perception, but it's not your perception. So for somebody to slap something on you and say, this is it, and you have to become it, it doesn't even make sense. The perception is the perception that others have of you and your brand. Your job in branding is to shape a consistent perception that moves your work forward and serves your purpose. That's what brand is, a perception, but it's not your perception. And branding is all those things you get to do to shape it, and to shape it consistently. Because the moment it becomes inconsistent, you say it this way and then you say it that way. You say you do this, but then you say you do that. If that's not controlled and defined really well up front before your brand opens its mouth, here's what you get: confusion, misinformation. You don't get credit for what makes you outstanding. You waste a lot of money in marketing. Competitors get ahead of you and you blow time, your most valuable resource. Those are the 6 bad consequences. So if all the happy talk about being authentic and coming from your heart didn't get you, maybe you have to get slapped with the cold reality that if you don't define in language you brand, or until you do really clearly, consistently, with consistent language that transfers energy, you will suffer the 6 bad consequences. So do it because of the happy part, or do it because you want to avoid the 6 consequences. I mean, take your pick. But don't just sit there stuck, particularly if you've done something for a long time and you're stuck at the starting gate to the next level of your brand, and you feel like the gate's locked and you have the key to get through it. We need to talk. I mean, seriously, just get on calendly.com/RichBrands and let's talk. As long as I'm here and I'm offering, this might be that moment or that season for you. So
love that. And I love the fact that you said that, our most valuable resource is time. Because again, I think that's something that, people don't really understand. And it kind of goes back to, what we take for granted, and, thinking that tomorrow is always guaranteed and that sort of thing, where, our time is by far our most valuable resource. I love that you pointed that out for sure.
Wait.
So that brings me to my final question. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things, then the whole world changes. So what's one of the little things that Rich does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
It's going to sound redundant, but I help other people step into their purpose. First, we help them brand their business or their work, but the end goal, the end game, and we make it really clear, and those who land here get it and want it. Our businesses are not why we're here, but when our businesses thrive and we are making our impacts faster, and we're getting to the money and the abundance faster, and building a platform for our businesses, we can more easily step from that platform into our purpose. because we're all here for a reason. We're not here to run businesses. These are just our vehicle, where we've been made for a reason. If you've been through all kinds of crap in your life, maybe you went through that to prepare you to touch other people's lives because they're going through it too. Things happen for a reason. So let's get to the purpose part. And every day I help people get to the purpose by defining and languaging what they stand for and how they say it, so they can touch more lives faster and be able to be bigger contributors and give back more. If I touch 100 lives or 1,000 lives or 1,000,000 lives, and each of those lives touch 1,000,000 or 1,000, those little tiny daily impacts have a huge impact. It's like a tsunami, and you can too. In whatever you do, you touch a life or touch 2 lives or touch 10 lives, and you just start multiplying that. You are a world changer, and you're made for a purpose. And my daily opportunity is I get to help people get closer to that and language it and become it. They're already it. They just get to step into their own shoes and literally access their own authenticity. Praise God. Look, there's another one. We count them. It's our new marketing metric. Does that help?
It's that ripple effect. It's that ripple effect that, every person you touch goes out and touches multiple people. And that is truly how we change the world. I love that. Rich, I really appreciated this conversation. This was awesome. For folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com or danclouser.com. And while you're there, pick up a copy of my most recent book, The Journey of My Mother's Son, Volume 1. Rich, again, thank you so much for taking the time. This is an awesome conversation.
Thank you, Dan. God bless.
Thank you.